God of the desert. It is 206 miles from Amman, Jordan, to Aqaba, on the Gulf of Aqaba. In the spring of 1990, I drove from Amman to Aqaba through a mostly desert terrain. I was intrigued by the emptiness, mile after mile after mile after mile. The road was not a major modern highway, often only a two-lane thoroughfare. I stopped somewhere about halfway. I do not remember exactly where, but before crossing Wadi Rum. It looked the same in any direction, barren and isolated, devoid of any human presence. I felt that I had not before experienced being at the end of the world as in that journey through the desert. I was hesitant to shut the engine off, fearing that it might not start up again. But the urge to experience the silence of the desert was stronger than the fear of being stranded. I got out of the car. The sun was strong and the brightness was intensified because of the white sand of the desert. I walked on the road a little distance. In my field of vision was only the desert with the sand in gentle, undulating hills, something like the sea. It was very dry and very, very quiet. The silence was thick and even seemed like a meteorological force pressing from all sides. Yes, there was no other human presence. There was no rustle of foliage, no chirping of birds. Surrounded by nothing, the nothing was like a physical something enveloping me. My thoughts and feelings drifted to God. I am here. In these deserts of the Middle East, the three great monotheistic beliefs were born. What is it about the desert that occasioned these religions? I stood, pondered, and prayed. It is the emptiness. In the three religions, the word of God is central. God speaks. Speaking in the great emptiness of the desert, there are no distractions. There is no competition with bustling noise of the city. There is no temptation from luxuriant and overabundant growth. God speaks out of the emptiness. God speaks to his people out of the empty silence. It is impossible to miss the word. This is all there is. The rays of the sun were strong and hot and reflected from the white sand even hotter. I returned to the car, sat praying for a little while. I turned on the ignition. The engine turned over, and I continued the drive to Aqaba. That obviously was a very powerful event for me. The memory of it is very powerful for me, meeting God in the desert where God spoke and three monotheistic religions begin. And being from Boston, such a setting is so unusual. And obviously I'm taken by the great silence of it all. There's no rustling of trees, there's no chirping of birds. There were no other cars coming, no other humans. And wondering, and And just standing in amazement, it's in this setting that these three religions begin, and it's the Word. There is the emptiness here, there is the silence, and God speaks, and there is no distraction here. From the busyness, the noise of cities, from the luxurious growth of or abundance, there is emptiness and silence, and God speaks in that. And it's unavoidable. The Word is unavoidable. You can't miss it. That's all there is. So obviously that was a very powerful experience, and even recounting it after all of these years continues to be powerful for me. And let me just summarize this by stressing it. It's out of the emptiness, it's out of the silence that God speaks. And new worlds are created.